Welcome back to another episode of The Renters. Now, on the last episode, we talked about the very basic question of whether a hunting lease is right for you. So now that we've evaluated that, you can go back and check it out if you want. We'll post a link in the description to that video. If you've decided that you want to move forward to find a hunting lease, the question is, where do you find one? So there are several obvious places you can look, and then you can also use HuntStand to evaluate the potential of a hunting lease. Now, I've been fortunate in my leasing experience where I've just been able to get a lease with word of mouth, and honestly, that can be one of the best ways. So how do you go about stumbling into a lucky situation like that? Well, you got to be a little bit sociable. So whether you're just hanging out with friends or family or hunting buddies or whatever it might be, people who are in your circle, don't be afraid to strike up a conversation. Start talking about hunting, see if anybody has any connections. If you know any farmers or anybody else who might own a ranch or anything like that, even neighbors who might have connections, don't be afraid to start that conversation because you never know where it might lead you. Now, if you're not so much of a social person and you have a hard time striking up those conversations, well, then you can do a lot of legwork online. And you can do it the old school way, which I would say would be things like checking on Facebook Marketplace or even Craigslist, or just anywhere you could search online for local lease availability. Or you could use a professional service like Basecamp Leasing. And in a future episode, we will meet with somebody from the American Hunting Lease Association and Basecamp Leasing to go over some of the specifics about how you can use a service like that. Another old school way, even more old school than searching online, that you can look for hunting leases is check some of those bulletin boards that you see at some country gas stations. A lot of times you can find land for sale or land for lease right along next to other stuff that's for sale, whether people are selling hay bales or whatever it might be. Check those bulletin boards because you might find a couple of honey holes that are up for grabs for a lease. Another way you can look for a hunting lease is doing some door knocking. And you might stumble onto a situation where you find the perfect gem of a property that somebody has. They've never considered leasing, they've never had anybody ask them, and I can promise you right now, there are still some places out there like that. A good way to break the ice on a property like that is kind of like I mentioned before. If you're out there maybe just trying to get some permission properties, that's a great way to open that conversation with somebody and then try to gauge their interest on whether they'd maybe be interested in more of a transactional type relationship like you have with a hunting lease, where you're actually paying them or providing or trading some kind of service in order to gain access to their property under contract. Now, I mentioned HuntStand in the beginning. HuntStand is a great way to e-scout, not just for places that you're already hunting or places where you're going to be hunting, but for prospective land that you could lease. So one thing you can do is go on HuntStand, try to find properties that are a little bit off the beaten path and properties that are not likely already leased, and see if they have the attributes that you're looking for, just like you would in a normal e-scouting process if you were going to hunt. Make sure those properties have all the bits and pieces that you know are going to be good for deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever it might be, like water sources, consistent food sources, agriculture, mixed timber and habitat types. Anything that's going to help you check more boxes to have a high quality property to hunt, you can easily find a lot of that stuff while you're looking in HuntStand. And while you're doing it, make sure you mark up the map, drop pins, make notes, look up the landowner information so you can go there prepared. When you knock on that door, you can address them by name and you can try to strike up that relationship to get yourself into a hunting lease. Thanks once again for watching. Hopefully you learned something new on this episode. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell on our YouTube channel to see more episodes of The Renters and other great content that's going to be coming down the pike from HuntStand.